Games.
Yeah, welcome to the day three of online MAD1 bootcamp, guys. Today we are going to discuss about uh, Flask SQL alchemy. So let me share my screen. Share screen. Uh, yes, Kamlesh. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Is it visible now? Is it? Is my screen visible, guys?
Yes, it
Yeah,
will be.
yeah. So let's start with Flask SQL alchemy. So Flask SQL Alchemy. Uh, so with Flask SQL Alchemy, we can do database management very easily with Python. So it's object relational mapper ORM. Uh, so today we will understand about ORM and we will use SQL Alchemy and Flask in Flask. Okay. So what is Flask SQL Alchemy? Flask SQL Alchemy is a module that we can use to handle data. Okay, so first of all, Flask is a lightweight web framework for Python, right? So with Flask we can build web applications quickly and easily. So whereas SQL Alchemy is a SQL toolkit and ORM is a object relational mapper for Python. uh, so if you want to interact with database, you need to know SQL. So with SQL, you can extract data, do some operations like that. But if you don't know about that, or else it will be difficult if you want to get a user's details. You have to write a script, then you have to extract. Whereas with SQL Alchemy, on the database directly, you can convert it to a object type relation. You will make a object type relation with the database, and you will have all the object properties. With the properties, you will extract the values of the data from the database. Okay, so we will look into examples. So SQL Alchemy allows us to interact with database using Python classes. So instead of raw SQL queries, so we'll write from user table, select star means everything, like all. So instead of that, we will directly use Python language. So with SQL Alchemy, we can directly use Python classes. So we can directly access the data using Python classes. Okay, it will map. It supports multiple databases like SQLite, MySQL, PostgreSQL. So like that, it supports many SQL, and we can connect with the Python. And with Python, we can do crude operations on the database. So why SQL Alchemy? It avoids writing complex SQL queries. So if you want to extract some information about user, you have to do the thing, right? You have to write the script, execute it. Whereas if you are using this SQL Alchemy, you can make a object of the user, and directly you can fetch all the user information, do some updates, everything like that. So everyone knows Python is the easiest language, right? With it's same as English. So yeah, Python's flexibility allows us to avoid writing complex SQL queries with this SQL Alchemy module. So it provides a Pythonic way to interact with databases. So we'll look into it after. Manages database connections efficiently. So it will do efficiently. If there even if there is any error, we can do try and accept. So we will do accordingly, and it supports migration with Flask Migrate. If you want to update some information in your database, then you have to delete whole database. Whereas if you use Flask Migrate, you can track your database, and if there is any modifications, they can still you can proceed working on your database. Okay. So in this session, in this bootcamp, we will not go with the Flask Migrate because our application is very simple. So we'll just define all the models, and if there is an error, we can delete the database and we can create again. Okay, so let's do this. So setting up Flask with SQL Alchemy. So first we have to install all the dependencies. So we'll do pip install Flask. So Flask already installed, so we don't need to do, but generally it should do. So pip install Flask. With Flask installed, then only we can use Flask SQL Alchemy, right? So Flask and then Flask SQL Alchemy. And after installing, we have to create a Flask app, and there we have to define that. From Flask SQL Alchemy, we have to import SQL Alchemy, and after that we have to configure the application with the SQL Alchemy database URI, and after that we should create a DB variable. So it will create SQL alchemy of app, and we'll pass the app into the SQL alchemy, and uh, the application will be integrated with the SQL alchemy. So SQL Alchemy database URI is set to SQLite. So right now we are using SQLite for simplicity. So it can be changed. We can use other uh, SQL databases like Postgres. So if you have the URI, then you can update it. But right now we are just creating a example.db file. Okay. So let's work on it. Uh, so this is the project we have created. We'll close all the HTML files open. Uh, yeah. So right now we don't need to think about templates. So we have made it for next session purpose, and we will go into app.py. Uh, so where we have created this database.db. So database.db, I think in models we have created. So right now we don't need to. Okay, so I'm just removing it. So we used SQLite in the previous session just for the sake of understanding. So right now we are using different library, that is SQL Alchemy. So just think about it. Uh, I'm deleting this database.db. Okay, so app.py. So here we defined flask app and we did all these things. So let's configure this application with SQLite. Okay, app equal to flask underscore name app.config, and then so in the app.py I'm writing, guys. So hope you can understand what I'm doing. If you have any doubts, stop me. Okay, where I'm, then only you will be able to understand. Okay. So app.config SQL alchemy database URI equal to SQLite slash slash. So here there we are the example code size example.db, but here we are using database.db. So database.db, and after that we have to configure the SQL app. So let's do that. Uh, Models import db. So we have to create a database from models.py. So we have defined another one. I forgot the structure. Let's try here. From so what I'm doing is right now I just configured the database URI. Okay, and I'm going to models.py and I'm trying to here make it the Flask SQL Alchemy. So I'm importing it, and from app, so from this app.py module I'm importing app, and after importing I'm making db variable and SQL alchemy of app. Okay, so first we have to install that. Okay, and in the previous session we have discussed about virtual environment, right? So GitHub is not tracking, so I hope you all remember those things. So can I see hand raises, like how many of you remember these things we learned in previous class? Okay, Komali, how? Okay, two. Kamlesh, what about you?
I've generated actually this created environment actually. Whatever you have
Okay,
discussed in
okay.
the
You remember these things, right? Like GitHub is tracking. So right now, I did some modifications. That's why it's showing modified. Okay. So if you want to commit, then so after adding database, you have to do milestone to something like that, right? So after doing changes, you have to push them. So right now, GitHub is tracking. So you should be aware of these things. Okay, these things are happening. So you should be aware of these, and you have to proceed. Okay. So that's it. So yeah, from Flask, so we have to first connect it to the virtual environment. So for Windows, it is um, VNV slash scripts slash activate. So virtual environment activated. Now what I will do is, uh, so let's see if the Flask SQL Alchemy is there or not. Okay. So what I will do is Python models.py. See, no module name Flask SQL Alchemy. So we have to install that. Okay. So what I will do is clear pip install. So whatever command they given here. Okay. Uh, Flask, which is already installed. Then I still am putting Flask SQL all HTML. So here you can see requirement already satisfied for Flask. So Flask is already installed, and we are just installing the SQL Alchemy. So installing collected packages, Flask SQL Alchemy, and other required things. Okay. So let it install, and we have defined all those things in models.py. We are importing from Flask SQL Alchemy. We are importing SQL Alchemy, and then we are creating a variable DB variable, and in that we are passing that application. So now the application will be configured with the database. Okay. So let's go to next thing. So now we have to define models. So how will you define? So what is models? Okay, this one I have to explain. So right now we just configured these things. Okay, okay. Maybe I should run. What? So I have to save this from models import DB, and then we should not do right now, but let's check. So from models, I just importing the variable DB. Okay, that we have created database variable. Now let's do Python app.py. So I'm doing in terminal here. See, okay, we haven't created the models, right? That's why no application is created. We have to do db.create all. So let me start here. So first let's write the models. Okay, so let's not spoil the mood. So I'm just from models, I'm just importing DB here. Whereas in models, from app, I'm importing app variable and I'm creating DB variable. And now let's understand about this models in Flask SQL Alchemy. So a model represents a table in the database. So in SQL Alchemy, how many of you did DBMS course? Can I see hand raises? Okay, none of you done DBMS course.
I'm
Okay,
doing
so
it currently, sir.
currently, okay. So the data will be stored in a tables format, right? So even if you open an Excel, the data will be stored in Excel format, like student in the top row, then class, then marks, like that. Top will be like attributes and values will be listed in the every row, right? So same, so in the same way, a model represents a table in the database. Each class attribute represents a column in the table. So okay, let me show example. SQL table example. So this is how we store the data in the database. Okay, so SQL. So customer ID, customer name, last name, country, age, and phone. So this is the table. How this is the structure we store data in the database. Okay, so customer ID it will be like this, and customer names in each column. So under the column name, the values will be there. So in the same way, we are creating models. So first we are creating entity model, like if user is the basic entity. Entity means object or a thing in our application, then we will create that model, and whatever this user or anything will have attributes, that attributes will make a variables inside them. So ID, name, email. So user can have only these three things, right? And also a password, isn't it? So these are the basic things, right? A user will have ID, name, and email. And so this is another function. It will just, if you're trying to do debugging, then you can print the uh, uh, these objects. Okay, so for that we are using this one. So let's try to create a model, then you'll be able to understand. So we are creating class user model and db dot model, and after that we'll create so it's automatically giving some code. So let's understand what it give. So id equal to db dot column, so it is a column, and in that we are having first one represents the value it can have. So we are defining db dot integer value, so the id can be only integer, and so this will be the primary key. So every new user will have a new id, and after that username. So username, it will be db.string, so it will be like 80 characters length string, so we are restricting, okay. And unique equal to true. uh, we can put unique equal to true, but for now no need to make it, okay, because primary key anyway will be unique. So user can have two usernames, so instead of username, let's keep it name only. So nullable equal to false, so it should not be empty. Nullable means can be empty, so we are putting false, so it can be empty. And email equal to db dot columns, and db dot string 120 characters. Unique equal to true. True. So with the email we can only create one account, right? So that's why we are putting unique equal to one. So whenever a user creates a new account, there should be a unique email ID, and that's it. So there will be like auto increment true also. So let's forget about it. Let it keep like this only. So control S. Now let's go to the next topic. Right now we have created a one model. Okay. So I'm just opening the screen. Now let's go to second one. So initialize the database. So to initialize the database, we have to do db.create all, and it will create all the models. Okay, and it will create a file, and it will create all the models tables. After that, we have to run the Flask app. So above steps generates the example.db SQLite database. All defined models will be converted into database tables. So let's check. So let's go to app.py, and we have imported from the models.py, we have imported db variable right here. So we will do db.create all. So we have made this if name equal to main. So this means only if this app.py is executed in the terminal, like python app.py. So we are targeting this, then only run whatever below, like that we are putting, okay. So it's a constraint. So only if app is triggered, then only do db.create all. So create every model listed in the application, okay. So right now we have done it. So are you guys able to understand what I'm doing here? So if you have any doubts, ask me, okay. So let's run the app again, python app.py. So now can anyone tell me like with what file will be created now? Any
Some
cases?
database will be
Python.
created.
Yeah, database.db, because we have defined here, right? So that's right, thank you. So now let's run it. So in terminal, I have written python app.py. Okay, we have some error. So let's see. Um so working outside of application context, typically that you attempted a functionality that needed set current application. So so this will be the like how to say. So this will be the error everyone will be facing when they are making this database. Okay, so it means so there are some functions like db.create all, which all should run in this app.app context. So if you are running out of the scope, then it will not work. So here what we have to do is, if we are triggering this app.py file, then what we have to do is with app.app context, we have to do db.create all, okay. So so we are just creating a context. So it's like a area where we can do operations, okay, which will not be done outside. So like that. So if you try to do something in the other file, then it might affect the thing, right? So that's why we are just creating a space. Uh, so clear. Let me run it again. So now it the app is running, but where is the okay? Inside the instance folder, we have database.db instance. So for every instance, it will create a new database, okay. Uh, and we should not post our database into the. Okay, let's ask. Let me 1 minute. Let me ask ChatGPT. Why we are getting. Uh, 1 minute, guys. Okay, I'm sharing my screen again. Uh, so let's ask ChatGPT. Uh, Control A, Control C. So I just pasted my app.py file, and then I'm asking, why am I getting below error? So you can ask ChatGPT why we are getting. So I'm sure about like app context is the reason, but I'm not able to understand. Uh, so I just want to recall. So we are getting a working outside of application context. So we are not working inside that because DB is being imported before app is fully initialized. Okay, so because we are importing from somewhere, that's why it came DB dot init app initialize the DB with app. Oh, okay, okay. So got it. So uh, before creating all the database, initialize the database, we have to first initialize the DB with the application. So that thing we have to do. So let's check it. So after importing DB, so I will paste it here. Initialize the DB with app. Now let's run the pipe application again without with app.context. Python app.py. Again, cannot import name DB from partially initialized module models due to like circular import. Okay, now we are getting circular import. Mm. Circular import means so right now we are trying to import in this application we are trying to import DB, right? And in this models we are trying to import DB, whereas in models we are again trying to import app. So this causing circular import. It is trying to import from this. It is trying to import from this. So we have to find a way to do that. Um, uh, Import DB first. Okay, first we have to import DB, not after. Okay, let's try this. Will do. Will it help? Let's check. Python app.py. Again. So let's ask ChatGPT what it does. You are facing circular import because app.py imports DB from models.py where model.py import tab back. So use plus current tab. Okay. No bind to it tab here. Okay, okay. So in this, so what it ChatGPT is suggesting is should not integrate app because in this models.py we are trying to import app, right? So that we have to stop, and after that we can directly import the DB and we can initialize with this app. Okay, so let's do the same. So from app, let's stop importing that app because it is causing circular import, and let's remove this. Let's go to app, and then after importing Flask, we are importing DB from models. Also, we have to import later models and everything, right? So import DB. Okay, let it be like this. From models import DB and app equal to Flask of name. Okay, and we are configuring the database URI and then initializing with the database. We are initializing the app, and from routes we are importing everything. And after that, okay. So let's do this. Create Python app.py. So we are out of the context. So let's ask ChatGPT what is our app context. Uh, what is app.app context? So application context, current app, database operations outside a request. Why is app.context needed? With Passport is an application context when handling request, but if you're trying to use class application like SQL outside a request, Example, db.creator startup. You must manually start the mm, the database operations outside request. Want to use app context.
Excuse me, the way you have written the code, na, for me, this database.db has been created actually.
Oh, it created for you. Oh, no, no.
Uh,
Huh?
yes, it is created for me actually.
Okay, okay. So I'm not able to recall what is the use of this app.app context, but if you do this one, it will work. So under a context, we will create all the database and we will run the app. Okay. So let me check now. So yeah, for me also it created in the instance folder.
In
For you
instance
also?
layer, it is created.
Huh?
Inside instance folder, that DB has been created actually.
Yeah, yeah. Created. Yeah.
Uh,
So we can also see that users table we have defined. So yeah, this is the user table, ID, name, and email. So I'm just checking what is the use of this app.app context. Okay. Use Flask CLI instead. Okay. Okay, leave it. So if you want to work outside of the application scope, then we can import app and we can do this thing. So while app is running, we can do operations on the table. So I think that's what it is. So let's do one thing. Let's create a file called test.py. From app import app with app.app context. Uh, uh, from models.import db db dot uh, db comma user. So user table we have defined. So user dot query dot all. So let's 1 minute. I'm just checking if it works or not. Python test.py. Okay, it's empty. Is Flask running? Okay, so what I just did is I just imported. Okay, without app context, what will happen? Yeah. So what we had to do is so I just imported from app. I imported app, and in another file where the Flask app is not running. So there I created a context app context, and in that I tried to do some operations on the database. Okay, and I'm able to do it. So we can do this for testing purpose. Okay. So we don't need to because there is database.db file already. But if you want to do some testing, then you can do like this. Or else, if you want to add some dummy data, then also you can do test.py, and you can create an app context, and then you can and there you can import the models and you can add data in it. Okay, I will tell about it later. So let's go back to app.py. So we have defined a model and we are able to see the instance in the instance table, right? Let's go back to the presentation. So we have initialized the database. Now, guys, do you have any doubts or else is there any confusion? Uh,
Till now, no.
no, okay then, great. So we are able to see the database created, right? So .db file in the instance folder. So that's it. And crude operations. So crud means create. C means create. So to make something, or means read. Guys, 1 minute. Someone. So C means create, R means read, U means update, and D means delete. Uh, so these are the four operations, main four operations we have to do in our MAD application also. Okay. Uh, I will make this less. So it will be very easy. So creating objects, reading objects, updating objects, deleting objects. So it will be very easy. So in order to create an object, what we have to do is we have to create a variable and we have to create the data of that object. Okay, and after that we have to add that object into database session. So db.session, and there we have to add that variable object we have created, and after committing it will be added into the database. So it is as simple as it, and after that we can read the database. So right now let's make something. So is app working? I don't think so. Flask. Okay. So now what I will do is, uh, so we did everything in models. We have defined model, and in app we imported that DB, and we initialize the database, and after running it will connect. So other than that, in the test.py with from app, after importing app with app context, we can work on the database, right? So with app.context, we can do this one. So now what I will do is, so let's see. So user is a table we are importing from models.py file. So this is the user table, and we are checking how many what are the records are there in that user table. So user dot query means we are trying to do some query on that, and all means it will fetch all the records. So python test.py. So it is returning a empty list, so it means there is nothing in it. So now what we can do is, we'll create a new user equal to the class we have imported, and in that we are defining variable. Okay. So MD, and then email equal to, so we have to pass all the required things. So we have to pass ID, name, and email. So ID right now we are manually entering it. So ID equal to, so right now a new user, right? So 0 can be the ID, name, email. Now let's do db.session add new user, and after that a db.session.commit. Now let's see how many users are there. Now it should return this user. Okay, let's do python test.py. Okay. Okay. So what's happening is, right now we are trying to print the objects in the list, right? So it is trying to call this representative function. So it will try to, if you're trying to print this object, then it will try to it will return this string. So it will be printed. So here what's happening is, this user table has no username, and we are trying to get the variable username. So that's why it's coming like that. So if we just rename it to name and run this again. So before running this code, before this error, the user is already added. If I try to add now, what will happen? So if I run this python test.py file, it will create a new user, and it will try to add in db session, right? So if I do this, so we got error. What is the error? Let's see. SQL Alchemy integrity error. Unique constraint failed. User ID. So now if we open database DB, there is already a user with ID 0. So I am trying to make a, so we are trying to insert a user with 0 ID, and it is causing unique constraint failed. So that's why it is. So now if you want to add a new user, you have to change the ID, then only you can add. So I changed to 1. Now if I try again, what will happen? Okay. So there is a missing value. Okay, what is that? Acha, now again, unique constraint field, user dot email. So we have to change user email also. So if we open models.py, so ID is a primary key, means it should be unique, and after that email ID we are specially defined, it should be unique. So email ID also have to be unique. 21. So let's try again. See, now because there is no error, now we are able to see the two objects in a list. So in our database, we have two users, right? Okay, I have to close it open again. See, ID 0, ID 1 with both same name, but emails are not same because we have specially specially defined that it should be unique. So that's why. Uh, and why it is showing same name because both names are equal right in the table. So that's why. Okay, or else we can do one thing in the representing function. If so, I will comment this. I don't want to add new users right now here. In the representing function, if I change it, so just for debugging, it's not very important. User and name, and then ID. I'm not sure about this modulo. Modulo. Uh, did I use R only? So let's try again. Python test.py. Mm, okay, I have to save it. Not enough arguments for formatting string. So I don't know about this modulo formatting, so I will just use f strings self dot id self dot name. Yeah, now it will be easy to understand. So if we try to print this object, then it will call this function and it will return the string. Okay, so whatever mentioned in the string, it will be printed in the console. So for the sake of that, we are using this. So now if I try to run, it should show email ID and then name. Yeah, so 0 and then name, 1 and name. So adding user and giving ID every time, it will be very difficult task, right? So that's why there is a keyword auto increment. So if we do this, auto increment equal to true, so it will automatically, whenever we try to add a user, it will automatically increment the id, so we don't need to worry about it. Whereas email should be unique. Okay, so even if I remove this here right now, so I'm just need to pass name. uh, if I add Aritra and then new email aritra@gmail.com, and that's it, it will automatically do that. But okay, I will show that one. So I will just run this again. Python test.py. So now we can see. So additional argument should be named. Okay, it's spelling mistake. AUTO. So now we can see. Before it was 0, then 1. Whenever I added a new user, right now I haven't defined ID equal to 2. Still, we got the 2 in the user. The user ID as 2. Okay. If I do it again, like changing the email ID, so it will again add new item. So again, new user created with the 3 id. So like that, we can use this test.py and import app, and with app.app context we can work on the database. Okay, so if you want to do some testing, or else if you want to add some data into the application before showing to the viva proctor, you can use this thing. So that's about it. So right now we learned how to insert a user into database, right? So we just need to create a object and store it in a variable, and we need to do db.session.add and then that object, and it will be added, and then we have to do db.session.commit. That's it. Any doubts here?
So every time we have to do this commit, like
Yeah, yeah,
after
after
every
you done
line.
some change, then you have to do the commit, or else it will not be saved. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
No,
and
so like in context of our project, so there would be a student database, right? So this when the student adds or creates the account
Mm-hmm.
on the website, so the back end here also somewhere I have to do this comment, or would it be uploaded naturally or automatically?
You have to do for every after entering the API, the student whenever
Uh-huh.
registers, you have to add the user into database and you have to commit there only in the URL itself.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, like that. So that thing we'll discuss in next class. For now,
Next, okay,
creating
okay.
database classes is important. Okay,
No,
so
no, I just want to have a greater picture on that.
okay. So this is how you add a user, and this is how you will read records. So user is equal to user dot query dot all. It will fetch all the users. Whereas you can also do filter user. Okay. So I will just stop adding new users, and I will do print user dot query dot. I will apply filter on this. So I only want filter filter by, and then on the column name I want like specific value. So instead of name I will do on email. So while login you will use this function to check if user exists or not. Email equal to nandy at gmail.com. So I want to see who is the user. Dot all means it will try to find all. Dot first means it will only fetch one user, top user. So let's see. uh, so it resulted a list of only one user. So if you do dot first it will return the first only. So whereas this all it will return a list of all. So if right now there is only one, so that's why it's list of one object. If I run it again, so now you can see directly it resulted a object. So first will return the first uh, returned. uh, so first object whichever comes first. Okay, so that's it. So that's how we query. So new user we will create object, add into session, then commit. Whereas viewing records we will just import the class and then do query on it. We can also do filter on it. Okay, so that's how it is done. I hope there is no doubts here. Like if you practice by yourself by watching this PPT with the reference of this PPT, then it will be easy for you. So now we have done create. After creating we can read it. After reading it, if you think there is some mistake, then you can update the value. Okay, that's how we do. So first you should filter the data, like what data you want to update. After getting that data you can modify that and then you can do commit to the database. So that's what we do. So let's try doing something like if my user zero's name is mistake. No, user one's name is mistake. Then we can update that. So let's try to update the user one's name because user 0 and 1 both have same name, right? So let's try to change that. Okay. Now let's do user 1 equal to user class dot query dot get and we can pass directly primary id in this bracket. Okay, dot get function, if we pass primary key id then it will return that. So what is our primary key? If we open our models database.db file, uh, we can see the id is 0. Id is 1 for the first second copy of the name. If we pass 1 we will get that thing. And after getting that user, let's print the user and see what is the user. So it is user 1. Okay, method is considered legacy of the. Okay, it is the older version. Now we can directly do session dot get. Okay, let's try this one. It's suggesting trying to do this session dot. What is this session? So it is suggesting that user dot query dot get is a very old method. We have to use some new one. Let's see what it is saying. Okay, okay. So I think I got it. Uh, session dot session dot get from SQL Alchemy import session. Okay, I'm not sure, guys. I'm just checking. User comma. Okay, let's ask ChatGPT. I'm not sure about this. So we can use dot get user dot query dot get, but depressed. So we can do this one. Dot session or session or session. Okay, okay. So we can use this one on the user class itself. We can query, but it is saying it is considered as legacy. So what we can do is, so you can still run your app, okay, but it will show something in the terminal. You might think it is like an error. So in order to avoid it, you can use db dot session, and then on session we can get the user. Okay, yeah. So db.session.get user one. So what we can do is, instead of like this, we can define a session here only. So session equal to db.session. So we can store it, and after that, uh, okay, with app.app context, right? And here we can do this one, uh, session.get user one comma id. So now we can do this without any error. We will get the user one. So uh, you guys understand what I did? Like previously, it shown the method we were doing, like directly on user table. If you try to get the data, it will give the data, but it is showing it is considered as legacy, like a very old method. So they have defined a new method that is a session.get. Okay, and that session is like a db.session. Are you guys getting what I'm trying to do?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just created a db session equal to variable equal to db session, db dot session, and after that I fetch the user. Now I will update this username. Okay. So user one dot name equal to Nandan. So I'm updating it, and after doing that, I will do session dot commit. So previously we were doing db dot session dot commit, right? We can directly do db dot commit. Okay. So previously we did. Okay, let me go to previous slide. So we did new user equal to user dot. We did all these things, right? So directly we can do db dot session dot add. We can do session dot commit. So like that. So we can do also filtering. Okay, let's revisit these concepts we did before. Uh, let's try to doing. So now let's run this file, python test.py. So now the file executed successfully. If you open database.db file, okay, it's not updated. Let me close it, open again. Yeah, now we can see the user with id 1 is name is updated to Nandan. Before it, both were Nandi, right? Like that we can update values. Now let's delete a user. Okay, so let's keep the session as it is. Now let's try to find a user. uh, Session dot get user. uh, Instead of like this, let's do the query that we learned before. Okay, session dot query on user class, and then filter it by uh, email. Okay, email equal to, and let's try to delete. uh, so there are two arithras, right? So let's delete this arithra6 dot gmail.com. arithra6 at gmail.com. After doing this, we will do the first one. We will get dot firh, only one, right now, so that's why we are doing dot first. And if user one is there, then print user found not already exists, so found delete deleting user. And then what we will do is session dot delete, and then in that we are passing this user one object. And after doing that, so whatever we do, it doesn't matter. At the last time, if we are sure about whatever we done, we will just do dot session dot commit. So now let's store it, and after committing, let's print the success. Print succs successfully deleted user. So, instead of successfully deleted, you can just say success. Then let's run it. So now see, user found, deleting user, success. If and if only the user is there, then only go into this and try to delete. If there is no user, and if you try to do session dot delete user, and none, there will be none, right? If there is no user with this email ID. So let's run again. Now let's see what's happened. Okay. So because there is no user, that's why. Okay, if I do undo, I remove this if condition, and if I unindented it, if I try to run it again, see, uh, yeah, non-10 object has no attribute. So that's why we have to check if the filter by filtered or not. If user one is none, then you will print user not found, then we will do this. So these are the important things we have to do, okay, while we are doing things. So we'll see user not found, so that's why we not deleted it. So now let's update this. So I'm just changing the variable. Okay, if you open database again, so the previous user we deleted will be gone. So see, only Nandi, Nandan and Aritra are there. So now let's delete Nandi1 at gmail.com, or else Nandi1 at gmail.com. Now let's do the same. Previously it's shown user not found, right, for Aritra, because we already deleted. Now I have updated the email ID. Now let's do the same. So user found, and after that it deleted the user, so success. So now if I open the database again, there will be two users only. Yeah, Nandi and Aritra, that's it. So that's how we do things. So we just use the variable session and db.session, and on that db.session we are trying to filter and do everything, okay. So we can do like this, but it is considered as legacy. User.query.filter, user.get, user.query.get. So it is considered as legacy, so that's why we are doing this session.query.get, and then in that we are passing the object and then id. Okay, so that's it. So querying the database, so we can filter that users equal to user.query.filter, and then we will pass these things. So filter by, so this filter by will exactly match the columns, okay, whereas you can do these things. So we will filter by multiple conditions, like user dot name dot like. So if the name is like this only, if the string name string has allies in it, then only uh, select the object. Like that we are filtering. If you want to order things, like sorting, user dot query dot, like here we will do is session dot query, and then we will pass the user object, and then dot order by, then by which how you like to order. Okay, so let's just do that thing. Users equal to session dot query dot query dot order by, and then we will do user dot name dot all. We want to see all. So let's see this. So session dot query, and I'm passing the user object in it, and after that I'm doing dot order by, and I want to see ascending order of the names. Okay, so let's see how it does. Okay, we have to print the user, right? Print. So it's printing alphabetical order. Okay, first Aritra, then Nandi. So if we do order by user ID, then it will do the reverse. See, first Nandi came, then Aritra. So like that. We will do filtering also, and we can also limit users. So how many you want to relate? So right now we are filtering all, right? Dot all. If you want to only find the top one, then we can do dot limit, and then one, then all. So we can limit like that. See, only one user came before two came. Right now I'm limiting to only one thing. If I put limit to 0, then nothing will come. Yeah, nothing. So like that, you can limit how many items you want to show in a page, like that. Top 3, like that. You can do on these with these things. So that's it. And now it's up time to know about relationships. So there are mainly two things we will use in most of the applications, daily use cases. So one to many. So it's like one object connecting to multiple things. So previously we created a user table, right? So one user can create multiple posts, right? Post, he can create multiple posts. One Instagram create user, one Instagram user can create multiple posts, right? So like that, one user connected to multiple posts. So this is how we define one-to-many relationships. So post table, post model. In that we have ID of the post, title of the post, user ID. So which user is associated with this post, like who created this post, and we are doing user equal to db dot relationship, and we are putting user, and we are back referring this. So if we do a particular user dot post, it will list all the posts created by this user. So that's the use of one to many relationships. Many to many relationships, when uh, one one user can select multiple courses, and one course can have multiple users, right? So in these kind of cases we will do we will use many to many relationships. So one user can register 4 courses, whereas one course can have multiple users, right? So in both ways, it is multiple ways are possible, right? So that's why we are doing many to many relationships. Any doubt here?
No.
Yeah. In current terms point of view, there will be multiple subjects, okay, and one subject will have multiple exams in it, right? So we will use one to many relationships. uh, one subject will have multiple chapters, so we will have one to many relationships. And other than that, one user can take multiple exams, so we'll do one to many relationship on that also. Like scores table, we have to make a scores table, and we have to mention all the information about what are the exams he took and what are the scores he got. So these things we have to keep, right? So we will have one user many scores. And other than that, uh, uh, I don't find it for now, so we will just look into it later. So that's about it. So I'm not working on this. Okay, so what it will do is post will have only these three things. So these are the only three things we have to give values. So if we put auto increment equal to true, then it will automatically increment, and we don't need to provide ID. Whereas title, if you make it unique, then you have to provide every time unique thing. User ID, so we have to get a foreign key. So if you pass the ID, it will automatically fetch, and it will link both of them together. And we are just putting a back reference here, db dot relationship. And whereas many to many, we are creating a new variable user codes, and we are creating a table with the user codes table, and we are passing two columns, like linking both primary keys. So user ID and course ID, we are linking both of them. So from user course table, we can fetch the data and show them in the front end. Okay, that's it. Let's go to next one. So that's about SQL Alchemy. Now let's see how we can use this SQL Alchemy in our app. Okay, so Flask crude app. So create models. Uh, After creating models, add Flask routes for crude operations on that models. Use Flask templates to display users. Example Flask route for creating a user. So we'll do app.route and slash add users. Whenever we make a HTML post request to this thing, and we will pass some values uh, via form like name, email. We will get the values from that form, and then we will create a new user, and we will add that user into database. So now let's make this simple application. Okay, so now let's go to app.py. uh, from routes we are importing everything, right? So in routes we have to make this routes.py. So in home, so let's create so in the next class, let's see what we will discuss. So in the next class we will discuss about Flask routes. So yeah, it's better to do right now. So this is the home page, and we will do app.route slash sign up. So this is the route where user can do. Okay, so and method equal to post get compost. So define sign up, and after that we will return sign up board, and we have to create a template for that also, register.html. So return render template. So I'm just putting two methods, okay, get and post. These things we will learn in the next class. For now, just return the template with these methods, signup.html. And let's open this signup.html on the right side. It should be register.html. Okay. Uh, so so the URL will be sign up only, but we are using register name. Okay, so that's why I'm changing this register.html, and here I will just make form action register. So okay, so this is the thing about this. So now let's make a URL for login also. Method is equal to get post, and we'll define login. And then return render template of login.html, register and login. Okay. So instead of sign up, let's keep it register only. Register, register. So what I'm doing is I'll make it full screen. So I have defined a register page and then sign in page. Whenever user tries to go to this route, what we are doing is instead of rendering index.html, okay, let's do this thing. uh, so right now it's slash register slash login, right? In this slash login register, we are rendering register.html. So this is the register.html, and the action will be slash register. So this is the URL we are actioning to, that is slash register, and method is post. And here we will try to get the information about the user. Okay, uh, so there is something called request in Flask. So I'll get this request, and let's see what this request is. uh, Print request. So I just imported request from Flask and added under the slash register URL. Okay, in this function I just printing that request variable slash register. Okay, register is there, and input type equal to text, name equal to username. Instead of that, we will just put name, and then placeholder username, your name. and then input type equal to password equal to placeholder equal to password. Password. Name, password. There should be ID also. Okay, confirm password. Email ID also. Input email name వచ్చేసి email. There should be ID also. Let's put ID. Uh, ID equal to name equal to email. Uh, Placeholder equal to email, and we will put password. Okay, so let's forget about confirm password. Let's only keep one password. So right now anyway we are not creating password, right? So let's remove this. Right now in the HTML form I am only giving name and email. Okay, so that's what we need. Let's see what it does. Okay, let's run the flask app. Clear python app.py. So flask server is running. Let's open this. So the application is running. Now I'm going slash register. So now you can see name, email, and register, right? So if I click this, let's see what happens. Let's go to the back to the application. So whenever you open the application, it's send a get request to slash, and after that we opened slash to the register page, and after that it printed it's a register request is get request from this URL. Okay, so that's so request is like whatever request we are trying to send, it will be stored as a object information in the application. Okay, so that's what we imported from the flask, and we are trying to print this in here. So if we do request.form, and let's send another request from the backend. Now you can see it is a immutable dictionary. So whatever we are trying to send from the front end, it is coming as a immutable dictionary, and we can see name and email is empty. So we don't want this to happen. Okay, so that's why we have to make it required. So if I do here required, now let's open backend again, front end again. If I refresh, so if I try to register, it is asking to please fill out this field. So it is required. Now I have to mention it. Okay. So guys, are you able to understand what I'm doing?
Yes, Nandan.
Yeah. So I entered my name and then email. If I do register, I clicked on register. It sent a request to backend. So if I open this, now you can see it is a immutable dictionary with name as the text I entered before, and then email that I entered before. So now from front end to back end, I'm able to import the data. Okay. So now what I will do is, so request.form, it is a dictionary, and in that it has name and email as variables. Okay. So what I will do is name equal to, so I will do it precise, user name equal to request.form dot name. Okay, dot get. So we have to get, okay, because it is a dictionary, and then name. If the name is not there, then so it will be not there, because in front end you are putting that, but it's better to do some validation. Okay, we are getting or not. But for this application, it just in the front end itself, you do the, if you do the required like this validation, if user not enters it, it will enter a pop-up, like it will show it is a required field, you have to submit like that. So that's it. User email id equal to request.form.get email. Now let's print the user email. Okay, now I'm not printing request.form, so it is better to have just comment it. Okay, so now let's go to front end again, refresh the page. Now I have entered the name and this thing, like I clicked on register. Now let's go back. Now you can see it is able to print username and email id. So now we have the user's email id and user their name, right? So now we can create a object in a database. Right now we are just printing it in the terminal, so we can create a database object also, right? Isn't it? guys?
Yes, we can do it, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So now what I will do is from models, I will import a DB and user. Okay. Now here I will do so session. See, there will be something called user authentication that should be done. Uh, so for that, what can be done is instead of the session capital S session, we will do DB session. Then it will be easy. Okay, DB dot session. So it will be like avoid to confusion. In Flash, there is another thing called session. So it is important to keep like which user is logged in right now, like those kind of information. So for those things, we will do these things. Okay. Um, okay. With app.app context. Okay. Now we again pop the context thing. The documentation for more information. Working outside of context. Hmm. I will. One minute, guys. About delivery equal to true. Guys, there is some issue with this app.app context. For now, I will I will keep it, but next class I will try to remove it. Okay. So here it is asking for so there is some app.app context issue. So I have to use this. So right now we got the username and user email, right? So what I will do is with app.app context. Now what I will do is I will create a new user with this user. So in the user model, I'm passing user name and then email ID. And in DB session, I'm adding the user and I'm committing user. Okay. And after that, oh, okay, okay. If the so whenever we load this, then also it will try to do the same thing. Okay. Only if the request dot method is request method is a post, then only we'll do is request method is get, then we will directly send the register.html. If uh, if it is not post, if request dot method is post, then we have to do some other thing. Okay. So that is adding the user into database by fetching his details, username and email. Then we will do it. Okay. So right now we got the username and email, right? So no need to worry. I'm just removing it. With app.app context, I'm creating a new user with those information, and I am adding the into database. Okay. So before adding, we also need to check if the user already exists or not. So if we want to check, so it's better to check before. Okay. Right now we don't need to because I don't want to make the session longer. It's already 9:30. Um, so let's after that we will redirect to instead of rendering we can redirect. Okay. There is also one useful thing in Flask library, redirect. Okay. And URL for. So let's use redirect for. After the user is created, we will redirect to the dashboard. Redirect URL for login, not login. Let's redirect to dashboard. So where we will show all the user information. So now let's what's happening is if the request method is get, we will render a template register.html. If it is post, we will get the user information, and with app.app context, so we are working out of a app context, and we are adding user information to database. So let's run the app. Uh, I'm doing. Okay, maybe I have to import these things after creating. There is some issue with this importing. I'm not sure. Uh, application context should have to see the documentation for more information. Okay, guys, it's taking time. I'm not sure. So the thing is, here I am trying to import the routes from another file, and in the another file also I'm trying to import app and trying to import database. So connecting this is causing issue. It's been a long time I worked with these things, so that's why I'm not able to recall. In the next session, I will try to tell these things. Or else we can just open my previous
Okay,
repository, like how
okay.
I worked. From there, we can just refer. Uh, in the database folder, I have models.py. There, just import SQL Alchemy. Okay. Uh, models.py. Here I'm doing the same flask import SQL Alchemy db equal to SQL Alchemy, and then created the classes, and in the routes what I did. Okay, user.py. I have imported app first, then from database models I imported, okay, app, then from models I imported these things, then from flask I imported required modules. Doesn't matter still. And after that, running these things in main app, init.py, import OS after creating app secret key and connected database configuration, configuring that. From models import db. Okay, let's try this. App.py. This is the main file for us. Uh, After doing configuration to the app, connecting database, the app.configs, and from database models import a db. Okay, we have done the same. And after doing that, db.init of application, and then from routes import uh, from routes import welcome. Okay, from routes we are importing everything, so every route will be added, and create flask app instance without running it. Okay, so let's try this one. Just commenting it down. App context dot push. Okay, okay. So what we are doing is we are working out of the file, right? Maybe that's why we have to do the pushing. Let's go to music. Uh, and open the yeah, I think that's it. That was causing issue. So if I open MAD1 project, and here if I open this run.py, here if this is the thing, db.create all app.run debug. Okay, so if we are running out of context, then we have to do this, but we are not doing. Name equal to name. Okay. We are working inside context only. Why it's coming? It's not the solution. Okay, guys. I think I will discuss this in the next class. Right now, I'm facing some
Yes,
errors.
yes, yes. Yeah, okay. That would be better.
Yeah, yeah. So I will fix
Okay.
this error and I will tell you like how to do this routing and modeling outside.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Any doubt till now what I did? Like you can do the test.py, right? So right now, so my suggestion is create a model like for everything in the app. So in your app, there will be for the quiz master, you have to make uh, user table. In that you will put admin and everything, and then subject table like every subject. So let's see the template and can understand from them. uh, Fire thing. Yeah, here itself they given that thing. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. So they have given a quiz. So quiz will have id primary key, so they have given it themselves, so you don't need to worry about that. So you have to create a user table, and then a subject table, and then chapter table, then quiz table, then questions table, then scores table. So these are the main tables you have defined. So whatever I told from today, try to do this thing. So create a user table like login. For those things you will need to barely name, email, password. I think that's enough. And if the user is a user or else admin, try to differentiate. And if it has been admin, try to do something else like keep a role also. Yeah, you can do that thing. In the backend itself you have to define like role information. So if I open this models.py, here besides email you will also put role also. Role equal to db dot column of db.string, nullable equal to false. Default is user. So whenever a new user tries to register, the default value user will come here. Only if you are creating admin, then only will put uh, role equal to admin. Then the person whoever got the role as admin, he can uh, do the, I mean he can do the admin tasks. Okay, so that's it. So after that, create a subject. They have given ID, name, description, and example additional fields if any. So don't do any additional things if you want to do project on time. For chapter ID, so one subject can have multiple. So one subject can have multiple chapters, right? So one to many relationships, and one chapter can have multiple quizzes, right? So one to many relationships to chapter to quiz. So ID, chapter ID, and then date of quiz, when to start, and duration, and then remarks if any, like that. And then questions. So every question will have a set of questions created by the admin. So ID, in the ID we will show the question ID, quiz ID like foreign key. So one quiz can have multiple questions. So one to many here. So refer the PPT, and from here try to create a different tables for associations. Okay, questions. So one quiz can have multiple questions. And so this is stores the scores details of every user. Okay, and one quiz will have multiple scores, right? Quiz 2 scores one to many. And users, so one user one score only, right? One user to many scores. like that. And after that timestamp when he did that, and what are the total score he got. So like that. So today's your task is to create all these tables in the model. Okay, open your app. So the structure will be same, right? Open the models.py and create all the tables for these
Just write
tables.
all these things.
Yeah, just
Okay.
make all the models and try to do some testing, like
Okay.
adding some items in them and check if they're working fine or not. If there is any
Okay.
issue, refer to ChatGPT. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
And after that, tomorrow and in the next class we will talk about the URLs. Okay, Flask routing. And
Okay.
so before that we will check about the app.app context that we are facing the issue right now. In the next class I will try to resolve it. And after that we will learn about the Flask URLs, and we will define URLs for every of these core requirements, and we will do the bare minimum thing. Okay, so for the sake of learning I will teach you. Okay, so bare things, and after that you have to make it your own. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So any doubts in this class from whatever you learned today? Is there any doubts?
No.
Only
No.
three people joined today. Okay, then what about you, Komali?
No doubt, sir.
No doubts. So everything is fine, right? No, nowhere you have doubt except that
Yes, sir.
app.app
Everything.
protection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Everything is done.
Okay. Raju Vargish.
No doubts, it's fine.
So okay. So I'm just stopping recording. Please wait. I have to talk something.